Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the UKLC, home of where we don't have dabs in the beginning of the show.
God, please no.
So yeah, real nice. But we're about to jump into our second game of the day, which is going to be MnM taking on XL. So very exciting.
Yeah, classic UK
going.
teams. One of the most classic UK matchups we really have here. So I'm excited to see how these two teams match up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously MnM are a former kind of champions of the UK from years back, and then XL definitely a more recent team to kind of like run the UK scene and kind of been one of the best teams we've had. So pretty excited to see how these guys match up, because on paper XL definitely do look like the stronger team in modern days, and you know,
Exile as well.
Yeah, with the fact that they got, you know, an LEC 10-man roster that's fluid movement, and we already seen in week 1 they subbed Exile in. Yeah, lots of open ability for XL to kind of like they get a lot of chances really coming into this. So I'm pretty excited to see how they do here. But I do believe we have Dan standing by, ready to do the rosters.
Yep, I'm here once again to break down these rosters. Gonna have a look first at MnM. Little preface, so normally we talk about the players to look towards for the biggest plays. Here I'm gonna look at the players who've kind of underwhelmed me a bit. So there is a full roster for MnM. The player I want to focus on is Monk. So you may have heard the adage, Monk will carry. Well, more recently, it's been Monk will not carry, and he's really had some poor performances in the past 2 weeks. So I'm really looking to him to sort of redeem himself for his underwhelming play so far in the UKLC. And then we will quickly have a look at their opponents, obviously XL Esports. And I think the big one to talk about is Mystiques. In week 1, he was the reason they won. In week 2, he was the reason they lost. I mean, he had a poor performance on the Rakan, and I don't want to, you know, disagree about how good the player is. I just want to say that, you know, it was a bit of an oopsie daisy and it really let the team down. So Monk and Mystiques, come on, step it up. I know you can do better. Back over to you, Jake.
I agree. I do agree. I mean, Mystiques was on Fresh looked incredible. Yeah. Mystiques on Rakan, it mechanically looked good, right until he flashed W'd into the tower and then lost lane.
That's the thing with the Mystiques. He's got one of the highest average deaths per game, most deaths in the UKLC thus far. His laning phase is his weak point, and Fnatic exposed that last week. He has struggled in those earlier laning phases before, but his mid-game is where he is strongest. This has been the issue for XL consistently. They do very little in the first 15 minutes of the game because Taxa really has been lacking proactivity. It's only been the bot lane that's making plays happen. Mystiques, he's forcing them even if they're not in a position to make them, like we saw last week against Fnatic, consistently trying, but always coming a little bit short.
He's the support you want when you're winning. He's the support you don't want when you're losing.
He's a win more player, essentially.
And it makes my job very exciting. It makes everyone at home very exciting. And I can understand why people will really get behind this player, because he's explosive, he's exciting, his play style is engaging, and he's a flashy support, and there's not too many flashy supports. I mean, Prospere is someone who's been kind of trying to prove that he has hands, was literally his words. And I think last week on the Pike, he definitely proved that he did. Mystiques, mechanically very good. Maybe needs to sometimes put the brakes on a little bit. And versus MnM, I feel like this isn't a game where I feel he's going to do it. I feel like him and Inax are going to be very confident coming into this game. I think it's going to just be full throttle, and they're just going to run at them.
Monk has to be the player to watch for me on the side of MnM. We have looked at players like Nulty in the past, who's been a proactive early game jungler, can look to snowball through that bot side, but Monk has the highest CS per minute of anyone in the league thus far, has one of the strongest individual lanes, and has been given so many of the resources come those later stages. But if you start to set him behind early, he does start to slip away. He does start to make more and more mistakes. So I want to see him get snowballed early, punish Mystiques' early laning phase issues, and we'll have to see if Inax can keep up his long tradition of carrying supports. Sorry, Dan.
Oh, man. Going back to an old duo there. Poor old Orcs. Yeah, I mean, let's have a little look at the rest of the map and the rest of the teams here, because obviously we got Exile versus Chibs in the mid lane. Yeah. Exile, you know, ex-LEC player, has had some incredible showing so far. I think across all of XL's games here in the UKLC, he's probably been the most consistent, and it's been consistently good. It's not just been consistently average. He's looked good at all stages.
I'm excited to see what Exile brings out today, because he's been playing a lot of the Rise. I can imagine it will be taken away from him, as it's been such a strong scaling pick. If you let the game go late, suddenly he's just going to 1v9, but he has been that small fish in big pond in the LEC for so long, and I know now he's got the opportunity to shine. He has been showing up big time, and he's been trying to prove that he is worthy of that LEC stage in that 10-man roster. And it's one of the issues that we had coming in was just, is he going to take this seriously? Is he going to be like let down because he's not in the LEC? Suddenly he's just stepping up every single game. He's been a massive carry threat for them, even though we expected it to just be Inax in the bot lane. And I'm excited to see if he can continue to put up those numbers. You put him on something like the Yasuo, which he's known for.
I mean, Orcs went to Twickenham last week and actually met the XL team in their training facility, had a chat with them. And XR said to him, you know, it's a lot of weight off my shoulders.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not playing versus Caps every week, you know, stuff like that. And he's kind of liking the moment to kind of take a reset, get his hands back on like where he wants to go as a player while special goes off. Yeah, regrow hands. Yeah. And to be honest, I think it's done him good. He's looking good. Yeah. I definitely don't think like he's deteriorated from an LCS player. I think an LEC, sorry, player. He definitely still looks like a top, like I'd say a mid-tier to like, you know, I think mid-tier is fair for an LEC player at the moment. And in the UK, I think he's one of the best mid laners we got next to someone like Magic Felix.
But then when you're looking at Chibs on the other side, and he has been fairly consistent as a mid laner thus far. I've liked what he's been showing, but he's not really stepped up and had a carry performance yet. He's very much just been a facilitator, consistent mid laner. And when you're up against such good talent like Magic Felix and Exile, sometimes you have to be that facilitator. It's working out fine from thus far, but is he going to struggle against Exile? This is going to be one of the first times I believe they've faced off. So if he can hold his own, if he can even just try and go even for as long as possible, then that's going to be a real testament to allow a Nulty to try and snowball the bot lane. And that takes me to the matchup that I really want to focus on. It's Nulty in the jungle going up against Taxa. And Taxa, we said, has lacked a lot of proactivity thus far throughout the season. It means that XL don't really do anything until that 14-15 minute mark. And it's like the coach has been drilling into them. Okay, around that time that the turret plating's falling, you have to make plays. You have to snowball the game there and then. That's the opportunity to break those towers, break open the game. And then before that, they just go, so what do we do? And they've practiced for all this time about 15 minutes, but before that, they have no idea what to do. It's all from Mystiques in the bot lane. So if Taxa can actually be on a proactive jungler where he's making plays, he's driving the tempo for the team, and not just waiting until that 15-minute mark, you can see XL take over. Otherwise, Nulty, we know he can play things like the Lee Sin, like the Nidalee. If he can pressure out Mystiques and Inax in the bot lane, that's MnM's win condition.
And I think we need to kind of bring it back to XL here as well a little bit, because we look at last week, we only saw them once, and that was the Tower Challenge versus Fnatic. We need to talk about what happened there, because obviously you can on paper just go, yeah, bot lane lost, but it was more than just bot lane losing.
Yeah.
It went wrong all around for them. So going into today's game versus MnM, what do XL need to kind of change up coming in from last week?
So they need to have a reset in mental if they do start to get behind. That's one of the big things that didn't really click for Mystiques, like we said. It's just things started to go wrong, and he's gone, right, we're behind. How do we get back into it? Make a play. We're more behind now. How do we get into it? Make a play. And it just snowballed downwards from there. It was a spiral down that got, unfortunately, Xmati more and more ahead. And when you're on a champion like the Ezreal, which needs 3 items to take over, it just came far too early before XL were ready to respond, and they got pressured out of the game far earlier than we saw in the previous week, where they actually had better macro movements than Fnatic, and they were able to win that previous final. So that's going to be the difference if they can just slow down the tempo of the game if they do start to get behind. I want to see that adaptation.
So it's all going to be about adaptation, all about maybe putting those brakes on that I was talking about right at the start.
Yeah, just take your hand off the F key for a little while. It's like when you see a Tristana, you just tell them to unbind W every now and again.
Yeah, you know, you don't just jump in all the time.
Exactly.
But the thing is I think you do look at XL, especially coming into this game, they're going to be feeling a lot more confident. You know, it's not a team like Fnatic, it's MnM, who everyone pegged as being one of the top 4 teams coming into the split. And so far, we definitely haven't seen a top 4 performance out of them. They are locked up there, and I think they're 4th at the moment, but just behind Diabolus. But I feel Diabolus has definitely been performing better. And I think we have a very kind of clear top 3, and where those guys all place is, I still think, a little bit up in the air. Diabolus maybe a little less so than the others. MnM are a team who need to kind of reclaim everyone's predictions coming into the UKLC, where everyone placed them as one of the top 4 teams.
I think that's one of the issues for MnM, though, is like, which player on that roster are you pegging as top 3, top 4 in their role? And it starts to become a little bit of a question mark where you're thinking, no, not Chibs, like, maybe Monk, oh, he's playing poorly, and then you just start to realize that this roster isn't performing quite enough to be up there. So it needs to become more than a sum of its parts to really be a consistent top-tier team, and I hope they can prove it, because this is a team, as we said, which is very explosive. If Monk has a good day, if Nolte has a good day, they snowball to all hell.
Yeah.
But if they don't, it just slips away from them. We see what happened against VLAN, where it was 14-0. They were keeping up in macro movements, but the game just fell apart.
The game did just fall apart around them, and it was weird because it did seem like they were going to win that game, even though they hadn't got a single kill. Their macro was very good, but then the macro at the end was where they all fell apart for them.
Yeah, the draft was a big question mark, and we need to see that adaptation as well, because it was all very single target, very early game snowball. You look at things like the Jace, which got counterpicked by Yorick. You look at the LeBlanc, which got countered by Lissandra, which is just happy to sit there and go, I can't die. You can try and pressure me out, but you don't have kill pressure on me to stop the lanes from snowballing. And that's how VLAN were able to shut out the side of MnM, even though they drafted that snowball composition. So XL, they could happily buy into the scaling. We talked about players like Exile who scale into the late game rather happily. Maybe he can do that again, and maybe he can take over against MnM rather.
Well, we are into picks and bans. Yasuo are going to be taken away by MnM to start this out.
Yeah, you don't want Exile on his main champion. That's one thing.
No, you definitely do not. As have to see what else is going to come away here. Do you see? That's going to be a Yorick ban by XL.
And so, yeah, the Yorick, as we said, just so good into both the Urgot and the Jace, two of the best top laners right now in the meta. So by just denying that as a counter pick means they can pick early pick top lane, blind pick top lane, and you can't really hold counter pick the Sendo, who has been a bit of a question mark for the team thus far.
Well, a little bit more denial towards Exile as the Rise gets taken away here.
Is this going to be the 5 bans towards mid lane?
Well, the Blanc's also taken away, so we're on 3 at the moment. Exile doesn't want to give that over to Chips as... Let's see what MnM are looking to ban away as their last ban. Urgot is still available. We could see Sendo pick it up. I mean, Sendo is a player who, got a pentakill in Forge of Champions on that very champion. We're on 9.3, we're not on 9.4, so it's still a fairly high priority pick at this point.
Every ADC is still available. We look at like the Lucian, we look at the Ezreal and Thresh, which has been 100% pick ban thus far in the tournament as well, being taken away. It's really important to be able to have that control of the bottom side. We see Lucian first picks often, but if you're picking Lucian here, you're going to Inax. Well, Inax, you just pick Ezreal and go for scaling, and then we get to see XL buy into what they've done so often anyway. Not do anything for the first 14, 15 minutes of the game, and scale into the late game.
I wonder if you see the Zyra Khan out of XL again.
I hope not.
I mean, it had a good start. It was just that one flash under the tower, and Fnatic knew how to get control from there, so could still be an option, but MnM not going to look for something like the Ezreal. They're actually going to go for the Urgot as their blind pick. It's a safe one to go for, so it makes sense.
So with the Lucian banned away, it does mean that Ezreal was pretty much uncontested in bot lane. You'll have to go for like a Sivir and try and equal the scaling, but that's all you can really do in terms of having an impact through the bot side of the map. It's the Urgot first pick being available into the Sion, knowing the Yorick is out of it. It means you win the matchup top lane. You're guaranteed to win that. You're happy winning that. But you force XL to lock in that Sion themselves because of the chance, just the small chance that Chibs could just flex that mid lane, and then suddenly you go, yeah, we didn't get Urgot or Sion. What do we play into the Urgot?
Well, XL are going to get their hands on the Sion, followed up by the Galio here. Quick MnM lock-in of the Braum to go as their support, and we're going to see what Chibs is looking to get his hands on here.
I like the Braum lock-in, just again, a denial, disengage pick, and the fact that you've got the ability to play proactively and reactively with it, I definitely enjoy. But the Galio on the other side, we saw it in the last game, another similarly playstyle pick, of the fact that you can play so proactive with it. You can dive in on somebody like a jungler going aggressive, and you can play defensively if Inax is getting jumped on to jump on him as well.
They actually locked the Cogmore in?
Okay. Is
this mid, or is this I assume it's bot, but I mean, you could go mid with it.
This will be Cogmore bot lane, but the fact that you've locked it in here is forcing XL to lock in an AD carry in response. Otherwise, you're just going to ban away every aggressive ADC and just free scale into it.
I don't want an Ezreal. I know they're going to lock it, but I want something more kind of like, let's just jump on him and kill him. So they are going to lock in the Ezreal.
They're happy to buy into the scaling, but they've built a big front line already with the Galio Sion, and we know what Cogmore does to front lines. With percentage health damage on his W, he is going to shred them to pieces.
Now, what's the build on Cogmore now? Because it's been a while since I've seen him. Do we go Blade Hurricane?
Yeah,
do we go
it's
Guinzoo's?
Blade Guinzoo's Hurricane.
Blade Guinzoo's Hurricane. So yeah, he will shred through tanks.
There's even a potential, if you see a lot of magic damage on the opposing side, to just go Wit's End third. If you're not so worried about team fights and more worried about the one-on-one burst damage of somebody like the Ezreal, the Wit's End's definitely there as an option.
I think the Wit's End's not a bad buy either here for him. So quite a lot of options open, but the question is will MnM get that time?
You know what's really bothering
onto
me
Monk
here? It's just like, I'm seeing a lack of proactivity from Taxa consistently. And they're letting the jungle slip so far down the draft that I feel like he's just going to end up on something really low tier. He's going to end up on a Sejuani, perhaps, which is still decently proactive. But the thing is, he's just going to sit back and rely on late game team fights. He's happy to do so. And now with all these jungle bans coming through, I think that's what's going to happen. We're just going to see two junglers sit in their jungle for 15 minutes. But MnM, as I said, I want to see something more like the Lee Sin. I want to see something more like the Nidalee that we know Nolty's played in the past to be able to pressure out the bot lane of Inax and Mystiques. We know that Nidalee's coming back. She's rising in priority from that jungle role. And if he has the balls to pull it off here, I'll be definitely excited to see it.
Okay, well, one last ban is going to be the Zoe coming out of XL. Let's see what MnM decide to ban away. They might try and take away something like that Sejuani, like you're talking about.
So this is, I believe, every single one of the 100% presence champions is here at the minute. You look at the Zoe, the Lucian, the Ezreal, the Urgot, and the Thresh. All here in the, again, it's just continuing that this is the meta we're seeing. Ezreal, just allowing your team to free scale. Urgot, such a consistent top laner, and we know how many of these players love Thresh, especially Mystiques. So it's just very standard thus far, and they're building these compositions that love the AoE, even if we're seeing some different picks, like the Kog'Maw. There's not really anything else that's been that special thus far. Nothing surprising that's likely to pressure him out.
Well, let's see what XL decide to lock in.
There
They're going to go for the Nocturne. That's a little bit more proactive. There you go, mate.
That's what you want to see. You want to see something that can pressure out the Kog'Maw. You want to see something that can get on top of him. And having the Nocturne to deliver the Galio into the backline, that is the key setup to deny him. It's not necessarily killing him instantly. All you need to do at that point is stop him from DPSing during a fight. The longer he's running away, the less he's DPSing.
Oh, Ivern picked up as well. So they're going full, like, Monk, you will carry. I have to see whether or not he's good enough to do so. As
we saw Misfits play this in EU. We saw Misfits play the hyperscaling ADC plus an Ivern. And we know how much these redemptions can add up and the healing and the shields from an Ivern.
Mate, you just go Karma mid at this point. You literally go Karma mid and you just
Honestly,
you get tips to carry. Or Lulu. Just something, basically just give a Monk the complete ability to carry.
Yeah, just some, anything that really... But
okay. I mean, what that actually does offer, I know this is obviously the changed Aurelia, the different Aurelia. You know, the ultimate isn't a disarm anymore.
Okay,
it's more
to keep in mind
focused towards top lane.
We could still see this Aurelia top lane, for example. The Urgot can still go mid, but the Aurelia is much more focused around like top lane, as you say, long trades with further a battle sort of effect on her passive to be able to stack that up and shred through top laners.
Okay, well, XL's going to get his hands onto the Syndra, so XL drafting a pretty solid and fairly standard draft phase here, but MnM definitely throwing out a curveball with their draft. Locking in the Kog'Maw, locking in the Aurelia. Excited to see whether or not the Aurelia goes top or mid, and they just send the Urgot either way, because there is a lot of flexibility, honestly, like you said.
Against a team like XL, you need to be able to throw that curveball out there. And if they're trusting that Monk will carry by throwing him on the Kog'Maw, then so be it. If you have that trust in him, you know that Nolty's not going to be playing one of these hyper-proactive junglers, instead is on the Ivern. You're buying into the scaling just as hard as XL is. And I really like this adaptation because we talked about XL's lack of proactivity, the lack of an ability to shut down a laner. If Kog'Maw is allowed to free scale, he gets to the 20-minute mark, he's got 3 items. Doesn't matter that you got an Ezreal, he's still able to teamfight effectively, and even arguably more effectively than an Ezreal.
Yeah, he's gonna, I mean, a late game Kog'Maw is the point where
I miss 5 attack speed Kog'Maw, man. I miss 5 attack speed Kog'Maw. I used to play it in the jungle. You just roam into mid lane. You get a flanking Kog'Maw. You walk up to 3 carries and you burst them in 3 auto attack 3 seconds because you just But that is what the dream for Monk here. Not quite the 5 auto attack speed, but getting into one of these fights where you're just allowed to free hit because people are buying space for you. The Brom's basically standing in front of you, blocking those big ultimates, blocking those big dives, and you can keep the Nocturne off of him for long enough. He can win these fights solo.
So this is my question coming into this game. For MnM, is there a point where they just win? Or is there always something XL can do into them?
It's just, there's something that XL can be utilizing in just the fact that they've drafted the Nocturne here. And as we said, the Nocturne Galio combo, so potent in the ability to just get on top of the backline. And if they can start to get a lead, if they can start to get to the point where their Nocturne ulting in, a Nocturne isn't just instantly being deleted, he actually has some pressure onto the Kog'Maw, then Kog'Maw has to run for it. Kog'Maw has to stop DPSing. Kog'Maw is perhaps low at the start of the fight. And then he's scared to walk up into perhaps a Syndra stun. He's scared to walk up into the side of XL. And just by even having a bit of pressure or removing him instantly from a fight, XL just solo win the game before the Ivern can really come online. So Ivern needs to be on top of him, ready to pop that shield. Brom needs to be ready to have the disengage, and they need to peel as hard as possible for Monk.
Right, well, before we get into our game, if anyone here has Amazon Prime and all of those goodies and you want to use that sub, you can actually get yourself a champion crate. Is it a champion crate? It's a skin crate,
it's the
right?
Summoner Crown
There
case.
we go. There you go, the Summoner Crown case. What is in that Summoner Crown case? Do you know?
I believe it's a skin shard, a champion shard, and an emote.
Ooh, there you go. Well,
So you get some free stuff.
Get some free stuff if you do use your Amazon sub for that. So pretty excited to get going with this game, though, as MnM will be taking on XL, and we are ready to jump right into it. Game number 2 is going to be a banger.
And definitely so. We have to see what the Kog'Maw has in terms of an impact. Because if XL can prove us wrong and have a proactive early game, rely on not just Mystiques, but Taxa as well, to be able to make these rotations happen, keep him out of the bot side, and keep him from scaling as effectively in the early game, then maybe that is how Inax just plays over the top of Monk. Monk becomes a non-factor, and his 2-item spike is never quite reached.
Not going to be the new Conqueror, by the way. We are still on 9.3. As I do believe we have ourselves an interview. It's meant to be a surprise, but I can see a face right behind me. So, how you doing, Medic?
Is that Aaron Medic Chamberlain?
I'm good, thanks, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. They were like, you'll never guess it.
Surprise.
I know your voice.
Yeah.
I know your voice. What are you making of these drafts here, then, coming into this?
I really like the reference to the Misfits game, but I think the big problem for MnM is that there's so much more backline dive on XL than we saw from Origin, right? Like, so you've got the Nocturne, you have the Galio there to follow up, and then you have the Syndra ult. You can only block one of those three, really, with the Braum. So I actually really worry for MnM that they're never going to get this Kog'Maw as online as they want.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I think one of the big things of that is the fact that they locked in the Kog'Maw so early. It allowed the response to the Nocturne, and they already had the Galio for the backline dive, so it just shuts out Monk so effectively. Like we said, just has that time where he's not DPSing in a fight.
I also kind of want to talk a little bit about XL versus Chibs here, because XL has been consistently one of the best mids in the UK scene at the moment. He's playing into a nerfed Aurelia, at least a nerfed mid lane Aurelia. Do you feel that this is XL's just going to be able to walk over this lane, or do you think that maybe Chips has something up his sleeve here with this pick?
9.3 really is still fine, right? We saw Forbidden play it for Misfits this last week in the LEC, and he had a really good performance. Like, you can still pop off just because you don't have a disarm. It doesn't actually really change the matchup that much. If we see Nolty ganking mid, maybe you can get Chibs ahead, and then he can take down XL, because XL is sort of a 10-0/0-10 player. If you put him behind, maybe the Aurelia can take over that matchup. But I still think that XL just have the better team.
That's exactly the same thing I heard from Mac, actually, the 0-10 or 10-0 player, yeah. It's definitely the reputation he's built for himself, and especially being a Yasuo one-trick from solo queue legacy, it's what you expect from him, you might say, but I've been really happy with his play so far in this play. I've liked what he's done in terms of just showing his consistency on picks like Ryze. Even when he doesn't necessarily get a lot of resources early, he's still having massive impacts on games.
I think the big thing for him as well is, like, he has just so much more experience than a lot of these guys playing at the highest level and playing these matchups at a high level. Like, you can already see him getting the push advantage here and then forcing Chibs into a bad position where he has to choose either to farm the minions under tower or take free harass. Like, Chibs is already a few CS down and is losing even more of his CS to tower just because of the way that XR is positioned.
Yeah, you can already see Taxa as well was kind of always hanging around the mid lane as well, so if Chibs did maybe try for a sneaky play with Nolty, Taxa could always come in. I kind of want to round out our conversation here with a little talk about the jungler, because we hit on it in the Champ Select, well, just before Champ Select, that we wanted to see Taxa on a more proactive jungler. We now see him on the Nocturne, has the ability to jump onto the Kog'Maw, has the ability to kind of shut down MnM's carry potential. What are you making of the matchup of the Ivern versus the Nocturne?
I think it's a pretty uninteractive matchup for the majority of the early game, at least. Like all Nocturne wants to do is farm to 6, and I think Tax has been taking a few lessons from Cadril in terms of farm to 6 on the Nocturne, then get some ganks off, get yourself some kills, and get ahead. And all that Nolty wants to do is farm up to his Redemption Ardent Sensor sort of spike, and then be able to keep the Kog'Maw alive. So it's very much more about if Nolty gets a good counter gank off, that's where his effectiveness is for MnM, whereas Taxa will be looking for that big first paranoia.
Yeah, hovering around the bot side, just Nolty able to deny any pressure onto Monk in the early game. But this kind of buys into the issue that I've had with Taxa thus far this season. He's been very much inactive on the map until 15 minutes, and going for a Nocturne, a pick that wants to farm till 6, he's very much buying into that again, just very inactive until all the ultimates are starting to stack up. You can start making those plays. But I definitely like the allusion you made to the mid lane in terms of the experience of Exile, and we can see that against people like Magic Felix, who obviously has been around for donkey's years, but only really in the Challenger scene, the on-stage experience from Exile has been consistently showing up, and I'm looking actually for him to try and get on top of Monk and see if he can find one of these instant deletions.
Yeah, that's the big thing for them, right? In a team composition, if Monk is ever out of position, he should just die to Exile's composition, assuming they're not too far behind.
Agreed.
Well, thank you very much for joining us here, Medic.
That's
we
good.
will
Great to speak
to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's really nice to hear from him there.
It was meant to be a surprise.
Yeah, but
It was not a surprise when his face just appeared.
Yeah, we have a monitor behind us. His face just appeared on it, and we were told it's a surprise interview. But then we just got his face looming over us, like kind of Superman almost.
Big old grin on there.
Yeah.
But we're now 5 minutes into the game, so not much has happened so far while we're having a little bit of a chat. You can see Taxa has pulled himself ahead in CS, but obviously Nolte kind of investing into camps, as Orc said last week, where you give a little bit of money, give a little bit of mana, and then you come back later when it's grown and get yourself some gold and some experience.
It's just a little bit of farming, quite literally.
I mean, yeah, it is what farming is,
Yeah.
but he's an investment farmer.
He was added at a very similar time to of course, the plants as well, and it just became jungles. Jungling is gardening. It's glorified gardening.
It's glorified job. Yeah, I mean, do you have a bunch of raptors in your garden? Do you have to regularly go in and kill them and their
my
babies?
garden's pretty dead, like the jungle role is at the minute, because you kind of been forced back from these really proactive champions of it was the Camille and the Xin Zhao, because you need to play around those scuttle crabs. So now Camille's gone, and it's just Xin Zhao and perhaps the Lee Sin left. It's the rise of these picks that can just play so in like with no real reaction you can make, like the Ivern that's changing the jungle. And I love the adaptation that Misfits made by going for it and playing for this hyper late game. Granted, the ADC changes have just come through. The Ardent Sensor and so many items that just make you so strong.
They're looking for the play. That's going to be the Paranoia, and first blood picked up from Mystiques in the bot lane.
And it is Mystiques and Taxa making the play together before any level 6 can come through from Shogun, before the disengage is there for him. So getting that snowball rolling early, giving Inax that pressure. He went for that Sheen for the early pressure, not opting in for the tier for the scaling instead. And he has been pressured out a bit early, but this is going to give him some power. This is going to give him the control. Now Monk trying to turn it as Taxa almost goes down.
Yeah, they're looking to put some damage onto him, but Nolte is going to be able to block him up. And now
That's a free shard.
Should be able to get some shards, get some plating for them, get some extra gold. But Monk for the moment still quite content, just farming away. Has got himself a slight CS lead. With that plate going down, it will at least negate some of that gold lead that he would have got, if not all of it.
But we're seeing already these CS leads are actually becoming rather great. Look at the bot lane, it's about 15, made up for about that tower shard for the most part, but in the top lane, Mama's, as expected for the matchup, winning this out as the Urgot. The mid lane going even is rather surprising, but Taxa slowly winning out the jungle matchup. And getting this pressure by getting that first ultimate off, one of the key breakpoints for Nocturne. You need that first ultimate to come through effectively, is allowing him to get ahead of the Ivern. And if you're ahead of the curve, then the Ivern starts to get denied. He can't get that redemption as effective. He can't have as effective counter ganks. And that gets to the point where you're just one-shotting somebody before he can really respond.
Taxa doesn't have Paranoia available quite yet, although Mamas has placed a ward down, hasn't spotted Taxa out yet. Nolte just going to seal away a camp.
It's so easy to just walk in and steal a camp. Costs you a little bit of health, but you just walk in, mark it, and smite it. If you have any knowledge
you get the
of the
health back
opposing
that
jungler
way.
is. Yeah, the smite gives you back the health. All you lose is a little bit of mana. It's just...
I'm actually surprised to see Nolte even went for a jungle item. We actually sometimes see Iverns just not even opt to get the start with anything, and they either take like boots and like a pot first, or sometimes they just go for some of the components
because you don't
towards...
get the experience from it.
Yes. Yes, I believe it was last week we saw it though. They didn't even run a Hunter's Talisman.
The only argument you can really have for that, in my opinion, is like if you're marking all the camps and then you're going around it as a level 1, waiting for the opposing jungler to hit like level 3, and then the rubber banded experience means that you'd hit level 2 off of one camp. Otherwise, you're not really having much of an impact with that. And I think the jungle item, just maximizing the experience you can get is so important. Even if he just goes directly for the redemption afterwards, you need to get that little bit of extra experience to make sure you can keep up in levels, especially against somebody like a Nocturne who power farms and wants to get ahead in level, get that level 6 first. It's really so crucial for denial.
I can't remember who I saw do that now, because you make a very valid point with the experience. I remember thinking, oh, that's kind of clever, but now I completely forgot about how your jungle item literally
Sure, it wasn't in
you
your solo queue games in silver.
Oh no, I escaped there. Don't worry, dude.
Where are you now?
Well, the one above silver.
Hey, it takes us some time, you know. It's like they say, at the end of the year, you'll be at the rank you deserve.
Yeah. That'll just be.
You didn't abuse the early duo system, mate.
No, no, I didn't.
You get a 30% win rate to master, didn't you hear?
Oh, is that all I needed? Just 30% to be master.
Exactly.
Man, that makes me feel really bad because I had about 70% win rate and I was. Oh boy. Anyway, let's have a little look at the game. 10 minutes in, XL have been able to pull themselves almost 1,000 gold ahead of MnM. That first blood on to Mystique's definitely helping towards that gold lead.
Yeah, and Mystique's has a little bit of control thus far with the Galio pick. He's been able to just zone them out of the lane for the most part since that first blood happened, and it's been a real struggle for Monk to get back into it to the point where he's going and taking the Krugs just for extra CS. And Inax has negated that entire gold lead, likely to get a second or third tower shard here. Already on the third, going to take the fourth soon. This is really disastrous for Monk's early game, and even being donated the red buff from the Ivern. He has to look to turn it here because this is one of the first opportunities he's going to have to utilize this. Of course, once Ivern hits 6, if you take a buff, that buff is left on the ground. You can go and pick it up. They've donated it to Monk, so it's not really having much of an effect when they're just able to back off and get a second dragon of the game because of this pressure they've had.
It's been a windy day here in the UK. This is our 4th Cloud Drake of the day. Had an Infernal at the end of the last game. That's going to be going over to XL as have to see what they're looking to do now that they can move around the map a little bit quicker. Taxa does have his ultimate available to him, and
honestly reminds me of the UK weather with the Dragons thus far, wet and windy.
It's been quite nice in the UK for the last few days. It's meant to change on Friday though.
Oh, is it getting rainy again?
Yeah, it's meant to go. Our micro summer we had before spring started is over, and we're back to winter.
Apparently it's like averaging 20 degrees at some places.
It was really warm. I think it was the warmest day in February in like history. In at least recorded history.
It's a change from like snowing in April last year, but looking up at the top lane, it's definitely stormy weather for Sendo as he's being pressured out so consistently. The Urgot, this is what he does, because he's got the percentage health on those shotgun knees. It's so easy to just walk around, pressure out Sendo, and because he's doing that, it gives Monk and Nulty access to the top lane. Because they've been losing bot lane so hard, the early reset came through. They give up first tower in trade for something they can do proactively on the map. I like this change of tempo, because rather than just going, we're going to lose bot lane tower and give them the advantage in responding to it, we're going to try and make something happen while we lose bot lane tower. This is so crucial for MnM, and this is what we saw keep them in the game for so long against Phelan last week.
I would have actually liked to see them do what we saw in the last game, where they just instantly go top and try and get some solo plates onto Monk. So just see how much scaling they can get going, as he has that Blade of the Ruin King picked up already now. Now looking to get towards the Guinzus.
Yeah, that's the usual build now. Blade of the Ruin King gives you that laning pressure, and then you go straight into the Guinzus afterwards.
And the Guinzus is a very expensive item as well, so he could be a long time till he gets that, if he gets hard denied here by XL.
Important to note, this is really the first time we've seen Kog'Maw since the Guinzus changes, so Guinzus doesn't give you bonus stats on auto-attack anymore. It gives you magic and armor penetration instead. When you've got percentage health, like a Kog'Maw, on your W, it makes that percentage health that much more potent. It makes the Blade of the Ruin King percentage current health that much more potent, so it's actually arguably stronger in the late game for some of these carries now, where the stats aren't that much more effective, and it's more about the percentage health on hits stacking up.
Next Drake's going to be a Mountain Drake, so might see both of these teams try to contest this out a little bit more. As Sendo going to have a fight here with Mumus. Mumus gets all of those shotgun knees off, half health in him actually. A lot of damage put down as he's gone Sheen Ninja Tabi on the Sion, so trying to build towards that Iceborne as quick as possible, but it will mean for the moment he's actually a little bit squishier than what you'd normally expect from a Sion, although Sion is still pretty tanky.
You can see that in the bot lane, it's Inax and his lane control gifted to him by the ganks from Taxa that's put him 1,500 gold up, and this is the laning pressure that's been given to them, and the laning pressure that they've afforded. We mentioned already that Monk has been gifted so much CS as the game goes on, has the highest CS per minute of anyone in the league, but Sion having to ult to safety in the bot lane. Just going to get out alive as the Ogre ultimate was ticking on him, so he had to get out of there as soon as possible. Used likely the Sion ultimate to escape the Ogre ult, but quickly back onto Monk. if they can stall out the game and start donating all that CS like we normally do over to him, then he still has the opportunity to scale. The 2-3 item spike can still hit just as hard as the Ezreal, but they need to make a play. They need to give him a couple kills off of one of these skirmishes before it gets out of control, because we're already nearly 3k behind from the side of MnM. And XL, with those 2 dragons, the first tower, they're set to snowball. Just need that Taxa to press that R key, and then suddenly you can have 3 or 4 people jumping on him.
Well, MnM actually just looking to try and buy as much time as possible with the game plan of losing as much as possible, but that is getting very hard as this gold lead is growing more and more here as MnM are going to start to lose extra objectives. You can see Nolty's actually making his way down towards the bot lane, and as soon as he shows, I reckon XL may just try and pull the trigger here and dive onto Monk and Shogun, as Monk trying to step forward as much as possible, trying to get some damage down. In comes Shogun. They're actually getting the damage down. That's going to be the ultimate by Taxa. Could go for that tower dive. Glacial Fissure gets forced, and Taxa just jumps in.
Oh,
in
there it
comes
is.
the
Combo.
dive. They're trying to get the demo out, but Shogun is able to tank it up and walk away. Get 2 ultimates out of XL, and they don't lose a life, but the health bars and the summoner spells are down onto Monk. They're even going to use the Ignite onto Taxa here. Monk's just trying to lifesteal his way back in. The turret will go down.
This man is crazy. They see the Nocturne ultimate, they keep moving
forward.
forwards.
XL's coming in! Unleashed Power's going to go down, and NX gets himself a double kill in the top lane.
Maybe a little bit too cocky from the bot lane there, because... Okay, what was that?
That was a Fortnite dance if ever I've seen one.
Oh, God.
At least it's not a dab. As long as it's not a dab, I don't mind. Like
a dance of indescript origin there from Inax, but...
We all know what that was. But don't even pretend you don't know what it was.
The paranoia came through, and Monk moved instantly forward and started to try and chase down Mystiques. They knew the Nocturne ultimate was coming top lane. They had the vision once the Nocturne ultimate ended, the Exile was heading topside. He still kept moving forward. They still hovered around that tower for so long. They needed to get the hell out of there, and Monk is punished for either his indecision or his aggression.
Well, I'd say aggression.
I say a bit of both, because he kind of hovered around that tower for far too long.
Yeah, I feel like he was like, I can clear this out, aggressively thinking.
I can 1v3, and that's honestly, that's the Monk mindset that we've been talking about since like week 1. It's just a guy who can pop off so effectively, a guy who can really have these games if you get him ahead that he's just going to 1v9, Monk will carry. If you start to set him behind, that aggressive mindset never really ends, and he makes mistakes like that far too often. This is the issue that MnM have had, and when he's not on a team that is just going to naturally win around the map, is a top team, and he's expected to be the 1v9 member, sometimes it gets to his head a bit too much, and we saw that there.
Yeah, well, he is starting to struggle now as the item gap is growing even more. NX now has finished that Triforce and got his MnM stacking up for the moment. Wants to get that stacked as quick as possible and get onto his 2nd tier ASAP, as Monk loses half his HP to Exile. No flash, no heal on this Kog'Maw. Ow.
God, Monk's just getting chunked to pieces.
Yeah, you might need to build that wit's end a lot quicker.
Yeah, you can see with the double longsword, he still has, sorry, double dagger rather. He has the opportunity to build into it. He has the recurve bow that obviously builds into the wit's end. You can go Negatron cloak here, try and get some survivability, but it's just all falling apart for him so quickly, and I'm not seeing any opportunity to get back in the game for him when we already see 2 items completed from Inax, and it's not the Iceborne Gauntlet, the cheaper orientation of the 2 item spike. It's the Triforce coming through, that more expensive item, that one that says I'm going to do all the damage, I'm going to hit even harder. And so they've invested those resources into Inax, and he's coming through with them. He's 2-0-1 thus far, has a bit of a bounty, but now that 2nd tier is going to be starting to stack soon as well. Actually, I really don't like this. Going for the 2nd tier this early means the 2nd tier doesn't start to stack until the 1st one is finished, so it's completely ineffective. This is just wasted stats. You're better off building the Lost Chapter at this point, like you see most people do, because then you actually get the CDR, you get the mana, you get a little bit of AP, and instead, he's just got dead mana in his pocket.
Oh, it's mana. He can spam a few more Qs, but no, I agree with you.
As long as he doesn't make the same mistake that we saw iBoy do in China, which is when you don't have a fully stacked Muramana, and then you build the Archangel Staff, it turns into the Seraph's Embrace instantly and stops you from having the Muramana. It goes back to having the Muramana, so you don't get the AD one fully stacked. It will stack the AP one first and complete that.
Mystiques, you good, buddy? He just wanted some time to relax.
He's just, posing for the camera, but yeah, I love these signature moves, honestly. It's like it's like having emotes enabled, but better.
It's personal emotes. You saw Zendo in the top lane was forced to ult once again away from Momus. Down a level. Actually, really starting to struggle here.
It's the personal emotes. That's why they're allowed to dab, because of the dabbing penguin emote. Zendo getting chunked out instantly by Momus.
Yeah, Momus actually is putting some serious work into him, but with that Ocean Drake, he will be able to regen up. Still has a point in his corrupting potion as well, so a little bit more to him. Is Nolty going to get himself a couple of chicken
sound
nuggets.
effect. Oh god, he's just bought into it as well.
What are our supports doing this game?
You know, last game we had going back in time. This game it's freezing time for both of the supports. As you know, they're just flexing on each other, posing for the camera, and almost the exact same spot on the map as well.
They must have seen it on a ward. Part of me hopes it was Shogun, just kind of, you know,
he just buys into the meme.
Paying himself a bit of tribute, saying, I saw you do that. But it looks like for now, XL with the gold lead, with the map pressure, looking to try and get as much vision and control around the Baron as quick as possible. 20 minutes on the clock.
Most of the time when that happens, and the fact that it's both of the supports is particularly relevant, because both of the stopwatches being used. The time where you're typing numbers in the chat, when is that? When you're getting flash timers, when you're timing respawns of dragons, or when you're timing any respawn, or you're timing any flash being back up. So those two being having it go down means that they've pressed that number without pressing enter first. They've just popped the stopwatch by mistake. So it would be like support F at this timestamp, and then you just accidentally just press that stopwatch.
Well, the only thing that can get you is, oh, their flash is on F anyway, actually. So you could actually flash. I don't know. I think we're thinking way too much into the use of the stopwatch here. As we did take a moment to kind of look at the state of the game.
We've got to break it down, though. We've got to understand why. Why would they do this?
They do it because it's 3-0. It's 21 minutes into the game. Taxa has been proactive twice so far, has been able to secure 2 kills, or at least be involved in 2 kills
it's
for his
proactive
team.
in the same way Dan is. He's learned to press R.
Yeah, that's fine. He's making the plays, he's setting up the teams, he's enabling
I really don't like this build, actually, as well. He's going for lethality. He's got the stopwatch, but normally what you want to see from one of these really hard going in junglers. You think about Camille, although she's not a jungler anymore, dead roll. With the Xin Zhao as well goes this sort of build. Instead of going for that Triforce like you used to, it's you go Warriors Enchant, then you go Sterix, then you go GA.
We actually might just see a catch out onto Monk. Unleashed power comes
forward.
forward.
Oh god, there's the shield.
That's going to be the ultimate out by Taxa. He might be looking to go in. True Shot Barrage lands, they're diving in. Monk goes down. The Glacial Fissures way too late. And now Mystique splashes in with the taunt underneath the tower. But Daisy doing some work here. Nolty's able to walk away for the moment. And now we also have Zendo just ulting into the fray. He's running away from Momus again.
The issue there, Monk, he survived the first engage. He got the shields. He kept stayed alive.
It's a lot of damage onto Shogun.
But he didn't get caught out but just once, but twice. And the second catch out, the ultimate from Taxa, is the one that finished him off. And he really has to be more careful about playing around vision, because when you caught out this far, the picks will come through consistently.
And now you're seeing the power of why Taxa's gone for this full lethality route. I know it was set up a lot by Exile's damage, but he wants to blow up Monk before Monk can do anything, before Shogun can stop him. He doesn't mind trading 1-for-1 because he's not the primary carry.
I can definitely understand that
If he forces Shogun
approach
away or forces summoner spells, it can enable Inax to tidy up, or maybe Exile to tidy up.
Exactly. This is the adaptation. You've got to go for the lethality because you want to one-shot somebody, but instead of the normal build, which as we said is Sterix GA for the survivability, so you dive in and you end up trading 1-for-0 rather than 1-for-1. He's happy to trade 1-for-0, knowing that the rest of his team has the damage to put up. So Taxa on this Ocean Dragon. Now this is going to be the 4th dragon of the game. Another game with full dragon control going to one side.
Well, we're going to see Monk base up here. Does have the components towards that Rage Blade, so he's going to be able to finish it up now. Blade and Rage Blade, but if you look at Inax, he's got his Seraph. He's starting to stack it up towards the Archangel staff. Could get quite hairy if Monk can't find an open. If he keeps getting caught out here, this is really on him to make sure he steps up to the plate in his next few stages of the game.
Actually, he's got faith in himself. He's only now going for the GA, having just completed the Dusk Blade of Drakthar. So,
I can respect it.
I can definitely respect that. The other option, less likely option, is the builds out of Chain Vest and Stopwatch, as well as, of course, the Gargoyle Stone Plate, but I think he's going to be rather happy to just go for the GA and stay alive. Diving hard onto the backline, so he needs to instantly delete Monk. We're going to see all the shields come out from Nulty, all the shields come out from Shogun, but it doesn't matter if you can just pop him even through those. You could do like 3,000 damage in that short window.
And he is at that level 11 mark as well, so he does have the, well, level 12, but second point in his ultimate available to him.
But it's like Medic said earlier, if he gets caught out, this is a composition that can punish him so effectively. The Galio ultimate on top of the Nocturne ultimate, the Syndra ultimate. There's so many ways to punish an out-of-position ADC. And when you've got this much vision control around Baron consistently, you're zoning them off this hard. If Monk walks up alone, or if Monk walks up without having full knowledge of what's going on, bam, he's gone. Bam, all the damage is gone. Bam, MnM lose.
Well, for now, XL are actually looking to start up Baron. Nash and Mystiques is on the flank. Daisy's just going to scout it out for them. So you need to be careful as Mystiques is still waiting on that flank.
As XL's just like, take this back.
They're jumping in, throwing everything onto the jungler. The shields and the heals are a lot to buy time, but not enough. Monk can't find his opening in, but a lot of ultimates have been expended here by XL. And
XL just force-feeding him the giant cupcake, going to tell him to get out of the jungle. Go back to gardening.
Said thanks for the hamper, but we didn't like the cupcakes. Throws them back in their face.
Oh, God. Instead, though, it's just giving them full control over Baron, and they can go for this. They've got a lot of DPS with the Ezreal. They've got a lot of DPS with the Syndra, and there's very little way for this to be contested. So it's just going to give the full opportunity for the side of XL to take control of the game if they get this Baron.
My concern is Mummus. If Mummus finds his way in, he's got that Righteous Glory, he's got that Black Cleaver, he could buy a lot of time, especially with his ultimate, and if Monk remains untouched, there's actually the ability for them to really put some chunk in here. And Mummus is looking to make his way up. Baron, not even at half HP, just going below that mark now. Mummus looking to jump in onto Taxa for the moment. In comes the fight. Monk's putting that damage out. They're trying to get the damage in as he's running through everyone. That's going to be one kill onto Shogun. A shutdown on the Monk here. Chibs is going in deep. And then that's True Shot Barrage forward. Sendo's low. Monk's trying to get the damage in, but Mummus not going to be able to follow up for more. And now Inax is going to get flashed on as he flashes away to safety. He's poking all of MnM as much as he can, but it's just going to step away.
And the team fight pressure shows up. They managed to split them up on multiple flanks. Mumus keeps Taxa out of that fight entirely. All the members go low so early that they're forced out. And Inax, he's so low now, he can't really fight this. It's reliant on Sendo.
Sendo's trying to put the damage out. He's jumping in forward. Baron's
He's
still
getting
aggro.
shredded.
He's getting absolutely ripped through by Monk here on this Cogmore as he is just melting, liquefying and dying here. Inax now trying to just continue to poke and prod as much as possible. He still remains untouched and Baron remains
alive
in
and
control.
has the ult.
That's going to be the heal coming forward onto Mummus, and Taxa with that ultimate, with that smite, is now back up, and MnM can walk away happy as they just picked up 4 kills in the True Shot. Gets blocked up by Shogun.
Nice move from Shogun, but with the ultimate available, with Taxa having respawned, they don't want to risk the 50-50, especially with members going low. And one of the reasons that fight went so wrong, and one of the reasons they were so hesitant to take that Baron at the end there as well, is because Baron, it's not talked about enough, but it gives you a 50% magic resistant shred. So your magic resistance is lowered dramatically. When Kog'Maw walks into a fight with percentage health magic damage, and a Gwinsu's Rage Blade, yeah, suddenly he hits you pretty hard. Suddenly, all your health bar disappears, and he went relatively untouched in that fight with Chibs, buying the space like we talked about in the early game.
And Chibs is actually the one I really wanted to hit on there coming out of that fight. We didn't really talk a lot about him after the early game as Exile was just able to push and annoy him as much as possible. But now he's got the Titanic, now that he's got the Triforce, he's actually a real threat to XL. He's also got that stopwatch available to him, so can also buy a little bit more time, but that doesn't matter for XL as they once again are looking to get on to this Baron. Trying to put the damage in as Mummus does have his teleport available. Daisy once again coming in, scatter the weak lands, the True Shot Barrage, and the ultimate gets thrown in. That's just going to be an instant deletion onto Nulty. Fear Beyond Death comes out onto one, but Taxa's running low. Monk is still in the fight for as long as possible. The damage is coming forward, and MnM are the ones in touch. Monk is untouched, and he is ripping through members left, right, and center. Mummus jumps in forward. Inax is still very, very healthy for the moment, though, and now Monk is looking to get onto Sendo. The stuns connect. They're going to go down. There's a double kill onto Monk. Monk is coming up massive here, and now Inax has used the arcane shift forward. He's going so low, but he's able to run away. He's still poking onto all of MnM. The health bars are low. The True Shot's not available, and a 28-minute team fight goes in favor of MnM.
And it's just been, once again though, Monk, time and time again, untouched in the backside of these fights. They use their engage tools on the Ivern instead of on the Kog'Maw, and it just slows them down. It stops them from being able to get on top of the backline, and it slowly turns because of this percentage health, because of the disengage shredding through the front line.
I mean, I think these last few fights have been very well played by MnM. 2 times now, XL have been greeding for Baron, and it's that do-or-die mentality we talked about from Mystiques and from XL coming out of last week's games, where they say, we go for the play, doesn't work, we'll just try again.
Yeah.
And 2 times in a row, they've been caught with their pants down at Baron, and MnM have been able to punish them.
But the big thing for MnM is that Inax is surviving every single one of these fights.
Yes.
They can't get the Baron until Inax goes down. He has too much poke, he's too scaled into the game, and with that Seraph's Embrace almost completed, he's too safe as well to get on top of. So you need a complete wipe and then still have the health bars to chase him down. So far, every single time they've got so close to taking him down, they're already on half HP. They can't chase the Ezreal. You're just giving him the outplay potential. You're giving him the option for that highlight reel play that you know Ezreal can do.
And one of the things we've also been seeing coming into these fights is Taxa has been ulting onto someone who's not Monk.
On Nulty,
He went into Shogun in the last one, and then one before, and sorry, the last one he went to Nulty, and the fight before that, he went on to Shogun, which actually means they're using all of their ability to kill Monk onto not Monk. So he just remains untouched. And now he's got that Zeal in his pocket. He's even got a stopwatch. So Taxa's options are starting to get slimmer and slimmer.
And when you see double redemption available for him as well, he's getting closer and closer to the 3-item spike where he's going to have the Runaan's Hurricane. He's able to multi-hit with that on-hit that we talked about as one of the primary sources of his damage, but he's still down 2,000 gold. It doesn't matter so much when he's such a heavy scaling champion and he's got a different focus in the team fights, which is just powering up as the fight goes on with these effective stacks of the Guinsus and building towards the point where you're just going to become this machine gun Kog'Maw, this fountain laser that is untouchable. But on the other side, Ezreal, he's much more focused around a poke. He's much more focused around denial at the start of the fight, chase down at the end of the fight, rather than just being this instant DPS threat until he starts to get a little bit more AP.
I'm curious to see whether or not it's the Gunblade build once again coming out from Inax, or if it's going to be...
well, it's already the Blade of the Rune King just completed, so...
Yes.
We'll see if it's the Gunblade or the Blade of the Rune King. And it's the Blade of the Rune King, so we'll see if it's the Blade of the Rune King or the Blade of the Rune King this time around. And, he does end up just having that extra safety from it. If somebody's trying to run him down, having the extra slow, having the ability to shred through this big tank of the Urgot, having the ability to hit for percentage health when you see suddenly that Monk has 4k health on top of him with all these shields.
I mean, you got to see they're just giving everything to Monk. So it's gone full funnel at this point.
But this is the saving grace for XL as they pick up their 5th dragon. Not really so lucky on Dragon RNG, as it's 2 clouds, 2 oceans, and a mountain. Not very effective in terms of stats, but what is effective in terms of stats is 250 bonus true damage on spells and autos.
Yes.
So the Elder Dragon has to be the marker for them of winning out this game, brute forcing a team fight and knowing that they have the damage to do it. And even if they're not brute forcing a team fight, having the poke from the Ezreal where you just get all this true damage burning through them piece by piece and then being able to engage afterwards. That can be a point of contention for XL, and it means that MnM, they have to worry about both objectives across the map, and you can end up trading a Baron for an Elder Dragon just to deny that win condition.
Well, you can see the stone plate's been finished up on Mummus now, so he is definitely in the position to be able to jump into them. Chibs is working his way toward the Steric as well on the Aurelia. So the front line for MnM is now starting to get a little bit scary if you're on XL side, especially considering they've opted into that lethality build on the Nocturne. He has now finished up the GA, but I mean, you've got Ardence, you've got Redemption, you've got Unholy Grail. Nolty is in a prime position to make sure Monk does not die.
And you got a Knight's Vow coming through from Shogun very shortly as well, so it's going to be even more survivability. They've fully bought into it, and the final meta is back. It's this Season 7 Worlds all over again.
All right, well, XL just having a little sniff around on the Syndra. Doesn't want to get caught out.
As long as we're not back in the meta where anybody goes Ardent just because they proc it with Redemption.
Oh, yeah, that was horrible. XL is getting ripped through! Monk's able to get one. Already the health bar is low. It's going to be a double kill. Picked up on the Kog'Maw, and XL just get caught out again.
They step just an inch forward too far into the danger zone to try and take down Nolte, and they get punished hard for it. Suddenly, 2 members are gone, and the Baron could go over.
Nolte! Inax is going to get the kill.
There it is.
And
that's the Baron likely to go over.
No arms indeed, but it looks like for now, MnM are actually just going to look to try and take some turrets down for the moment.
Honestly, force the 50-50, force him to go in and then disengage at the right time, and suddenly they just lose the Baron, so they can get these towers and back off with still 20 to 30 seconds left of control.
Yeah, I actually think they can just take the inhibit and then either reset and play around Baron once they got supers in the mid pushing for them,
so
or they can just rush straight for Baron now.
They made the choice that they didn't want Taxa to have even a shot at a 50-50. They didn't want to risk any kind of steal going over. Of course, they were the ones committing the steal last week against Phelan, so they are fully aware of the deficit that can come from that, and especially with their jungler not available, they don't want that smite going down. They had the spellbook, so they could have gone for the smite on Urgot and tried to get the 50-50 there, but it's just a bit too risky. Instead, they get the 100%.
Monk has 3,100 gold.
Oh, that's what you get when you take down Inax, is the gold deficit is halved.
He got a grand for killing Inax.
Yeah, that's a big amount of money.
But it looks like XL are actually just going to run towards Baron here. They know that Monk hasn't actually based yet,
but
so
it's
he
because
hasn't
of the late
spent
reset.
gold.
Yeah, the late reset came through, which means that they are able to force onto Baron, keep them on the map, and this is the price they have paid for going for the inhibitor. They get the fact that they've got super minions pushing mid, but they lose control of mid in terms of vision. They lose control of the Baron pit, and now they're back to square one.
Yeah, Monk really wants to get this base off, but I think for now, just going to try and get as much gold onto him as possible as MnM grouping up in the mid lane. Scatter the Weak does land on Shogun, but there's a big shield coming out on Nolte. And XL definitely can't just go for Baron blindly right now.
Interesting build from Exile is he's gone for the Spellbinder second on Syndra.
Monk's biting. What's he going to buy? Probably a GA.
You can imagine it would be a GA just for the extra safety. Of course, when he comes back up, the amount of shields he can get, it's going to be really hard to kill him then as well. So, all the GA is for him is shields on cooldown. And instead, the balls on this man going for the Infinity Edge.
I'm so glad he went for the Infinity Edge.
Yeah, he's going for the bonus attack damage. Of course, this is the new Infinity Edge, so it's not the true damage anymore. Instead, just opting in for the hard AD scaling. He's got that bonus armor penetration like we talked about from the...
oh, they're just running towards Baron.
From the Blade of the Ring, and they've spotted them towards the bot side of the map. They know they're down there.
They can do this so quick.
Yeah.
They're not going to start it up. They actually want to look for a pick first. As Night's Vow's not been finished quite yet on Shogun, so probably just waiting for him to pick that up. But that's going to be the stun onto one. You can already see Monk is looking to tear through members left, right, and center. One pick on the center. The front line is down. Exile's trying to get the Scatter of the Weak up, but that's going to be the Fear Beyond Death to slow him. Mummas flashes in forward. They're looking to chase. They're looking to poke. Inax is going to get caught out. Shogun flashes in with the Glacial Fissure to catch him out, and Monk is pumping in the damage, trying to rip through it. But Inax is still alive for the moment. He gets shut down with an ultimate, and that's going to be a triple kill onto Monk. One by Chips. And Taxa is forced to run away. He has a GA, but Chip splashes in for the stun.
Could this be the game?
Doesn't quite get it. Is MnM going to take down XL? This might be the first Academy team to fall to a non-Academy team here in the UK. But now MnM going to look to pressure into the mid lane. They've still got Monk on full HP.
40 seconds, they can't do this. This is it.
Down. Everybody on XL, but Taxa is dead. The Nexus is exposed, and MnM have slain XL.
And the early game looked so dire. But Monk will carry.
Monk will carry. There were questions raised coming into this game, but Monk stepped up to the plate, picked a Cogmore of all things, and hard carried that game.
We talked about the front line there was from the side of XL, and they had a big front line that had a lot of control, but it doesn't matter when a Sendo just dies in 6 auto attacks.
I mean, you always think of Sion as just this big beefcake, but
yep.
I mean...
I know I do.
He just looks like a calf at that point. He just got cut through so
honestly,
quickly.
Like, everybody dies at the exact same speed when you're up against this Cogmore. Absolute massive amount of shred that you can have in these late game fights. And we saw him able to survive because XL, they couldn't execute in the mid game. They couldn't quite get on top of him quick enough. And even though from the other side, Inax wasn't able to be pressured out that much hard either, it got to the point where Inax was desperate to make plays himself. And, you know, we said it was Mystique's before. This week it was Inax just trying to force a little bit too hard, desperately trying to save the game for his team, and in the end, it was him that cost him it.
And I think one of the things I really do want to raise is I did comment on the game saying Monk hard carried. Actually, the whole team played around Monk very well. Nolty peeled for Monk incredibly well. Shogun was always a force to be reckoned with, and anyone who looked to dive on Monk, he made sure they couldn't.
So many cooldowns on him. Shogun just walking up and then ends up tanking a Syndra ultimate for no reason.
That was the dream. That was the dream composition and the dream playstyle as a Cogmore. Like, everyone played around him so well that it was just a perfectly round.
And Mummers as well, though. He's averaged the highest deaths of anybody in the tournament thus far per game, but he had a really strong performance, was able to pressure out Sendo constantly in these fights on top of key carry threats, stopping them from affecting the Cogmore. It's either the Syndra getting zoned out or the Nocturne getting zoned out where they just can't DPS the Cogmore whatsoever, and the game falls apart for them because they can't get on top of the key carry threat. And we saw what happened. Exile, he walked up to try and get rid of Nulty. He walked up to try and ult down this big shield threat that was keeping the Cogmore alive because they tried that adaptation. Get rid of the guy that's giving him the shields, maybe he dies a lot easier. An inch too far forward, insta-death.
I mean, Baron didn't even fall that game.
Yeah.
Every time XL tried to go for Baron or tried to contest Vision at Baron, that was the opening for MnM.
The AoE team fight was just too much there.
I want to go back to that point I raised in game, and the point we raised before the game was they just had the foot on the accelerator the whole time. There was no point when they went, okay, we can't contest this Baron, or we can't at least try this Baron because we get too low and then we let MnM engage on us. And MnM just, they knew, they made sure that someone was always jumping in first, forcing the cooldowns onto that person, and at that point, Monk will carry.
We saw the flashes of brilliance from Shibs, though, all the same. We saw the flashes of what makes Aurelia such a strong champion before those changes heading into 9.4. So I'm still very happy with what he was able to do, even though a lot of the time he was diving in, he was dying for it. He was trading 1 for 1, 1 for 2, zoning away key that carry threats. And again, all these people that weren't playing that shielding unit, so the Urgot and the Aurelia, they just bought space by being such effective carry threats that even when they got bursted, they were buying the space for Monk to carry.
Well, we will have MVP coming up in a second. I have a good guess on who it is, and I have just been confirmed. It is Monk who is the MVP for MnM.
A lot of unsung heroes from this game, though, you have to say.
I think, yeah, this is going to be a hard one. So like as normal, we have unsung heroes, but let's give our moment to Monk.
9.9 CS per minute. Once again, this is higher than his average, which is about 9.6 CS per minute, but they consistently dedicate all these resources to him. And this style, which we saw as we were talking to Medic about, pioneered by Misfits against that Origin in that game at LEC, has now shown through as one of the primary styles that's winning people games. And if you're not drafting to counter it, the game falls apart.
Now, if there was anyone coming out of that game who you think, hey, come on, Monk played well, but this guy played well as well, make sure that you do let us know using that hashtag UKLC over on Twitter. And let us know who your unsung hero was. If they get enough votes online, we will put them up in the main vote at the end of the show. And once again, we'll see who is going to be the MVP, well, the unsung hero coming out of day one. But I think, to be fair, it was a well-earned Monk MVP.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really say anybody else when he only really got caught out that once or twice in the earlier phases, and from there was consistently in the right position. He learned his lesson after getting punished in the jungle. And MnM, they closed out the game fairly successfully. There wasn't really windows for Excel to get back into it once that one team fight went their way.
Yeah, definitely so. But after the break, we're going to have Darkspawn Gaming taking on Enclave. So, I mean, Enclave are a team who I think, you know, they haven't had the best run so far because they've had hard games.
But they've only played against the Academy teams thus far, and MnM just taking down an Academy team, we're proving that other teams can get up to that level. They can make them bleed. And Enclave, they had such strong performances against them last time. We want to see if they can make it there again.
Well, we will have to wait a moment because when we're back with after the break, it'll be Darkspawn taking on Enclave, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a minute.